So from the chat, we've got several good questions, and I'll welcome each of you to come up as well in here. So Dan Naru, we all know, has a question that I think piggybacks slightly on this and like you to take it in a different direction. His question was, how do you measure Glocal success? And I think this question is more around the brand and how we're working it, but let's talk a little bit about how this is impacting actual recruiting metrics of your global team.
So, we've provided some of most of this rolled out, the big easy was for North America, right? Because we had the accessibility and no language barriers initially as we pushed that piece out, right? Barring minor grammar, this and that. But we haven't seen a huge push for this yet, the release just yet globally. But we're anxious to track it in the same manner that we'll be tracking here in the States. There's no difference, right? Being able to track the analytics and the traffic that it generates, the buzz. A lot of those things that are easy to track when we start talking about the ROI on recruitment and recruitment marketing. But I think there's something bigger to consider than necessarily click-throughs. There's something bigger to consider than necessarily the immediate ROI that everybody thinks that they should be able to look for. I mean, we have a lot of HR leadership that says, okay, I'm going to give you $100,000 or $50,000, or you're lucky if you get $25,000 or whatever you may need to do this, but you're going to have to show me that immediate return. And I think probably the toughest thing that any of us as recruitment marketers or recruiting professionals face in terms of talking about that is there's value in buzz, there's value in awareness, there's value in view-throughs. Similar to what you'd see in a click-through, right? The difference. So clicking on a marketing ad, there's value in that, but there's also value in seeing the marketing, seeing the experience, and start thinking about that. And we think that as we pull in different focus groups and as we begin to talk about with the new hires about what engaged them, we begin to take a more proactive approach to truly engaging with the candidates and the applicants throughout the entire process and just being all up in their Kool-Aid during the onboarding process. I think we're able to pull out some nuggets of wisdom, we hope, of what worked. And quite frankly, we're hoping to find some things that don't work. We hope people won't be shy to tell us, man, that was broke.
So it sounds like the foundation for measuring quality of hire, right? And I think that when you give the ability to opt out or give a more transparent view into how your organization really operates and how you are right for us, we'll worry about that skill set later, but you are right for us, that has to impact quality of hire, retention, right? The ability for upward mobility in there. So since you measure everything, that's almost impossible to measure today, right? You can't measure that, Mr. Hoyt. So are you, he's going to measure lots of things and draw some conclusions, but is this a goal to be able to say that, look, you don't have anything to compare it to, but that helping people choose not to come forward and work here is valuable, and us being open like this is the upside. Forget, we can sell some more Frito-Lay.
Yeah, and I think we get to the point where we have that dialogue that when did you think of us as an employer? When did that happen? And that'll be big on campus. It'll be a before and an after, obviously shot. But I think that probably the biggest thing, if I have to deliver anything from this project and sort of where we roll it into, is the continual learning that we're not done. This is just phase one. We have some sick things that we are working on, and by sick I mean sick things we're going to work on, that we're going to roll out, that there is some behind it that is horsepower. I mean, there will be some projects that did take a little bit of funding, and I think I'm looking forward to being very open about what was more willpower versus maybe we need a graph like an equalizer, willpower, horsepower, and where that comes out visually. But I think that it's a learning process, and I think as all of us stay engaged, we can roll stuff like that and share. I hope some of you will come back, if not tonight, if not later, if whenever, and actually say, well, did you guys think about this? So some of the feedback we actually got on the blog post was one of your buttons on the website to join your talent connection, your talent community. It doesn't really pop off the page. And we said, you know what? You're right. We'll change the color of it. We'll make it stand out more this next version. So it's all about opening it up and asking the candidates, what do they want to see on this page, and customizing that job seeker experience that will tell our story, but literally be their job seeking experience, right? That's where we're headed.
little tease for candidate Bill of Rights. I see Jerry nodding his head back here for challenging with your brand now, how you move that forward. So one quick point of housekeeping. We have 6 or 7 minutes here, and also for those of you who are watching along at home, remember you can, at the office, no you're not at home, right underneath, pose a question to the speaker box. There's also an 866 phone number where you can dial in and ask your question of Chris as well. So I'll leave that PSA there. And we've got another question here from one global brand to another of these big brands. We have Allison Holbrook back here in the back, who manages the employment brand, leads the employment brand for Fidelity. Right? Did I mess that up? Okay.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, Allison, what's your question for Chris?
Chris, I think everything looks great. While I was in the audience, I was checking out the career site and saw, so I have kind of a two-part question. I saw you're using Infinite on the career site corporately, so kind of wanting to understand how you're using Infinite as your umbrella, and then also how you're taking that message, particularly when you're kind of face-to-face, so whether it's on campus or at events. We struggle some of the same ways with Fidelity having kind of 40 businesses under its umbrella, trying to get particularly students or people when we have career fairs or events understanding the diversity of our jobs and our brands. And obviously with the number of brands that are under PepsiCo, I have to assume you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So in terms of the Infinite, it's funny because we talked about this earlier. The Infinite Possibilities piece, we still think resonates very strongly in North America, in the US. So the page, as you go out there today and as you land on that piece where it's been incorporated, that is the US page, that is the US landing page. That is still what we think is, part of these infinite possibilities. We set this up. It doesn't necessarily mean that when we put up the UK hub, out there, or the China site, or the Moscow, or all of the different locations and cities, and as we drive this out, that they're going to see infinite, right, possibilities out there for them. So the brand, that message, infinite isn't really the umbrella. Although I think today in phase one, it may give that appearance on the website for sure. But it's just the landing page that's live. Right? So as we move in, we'll see more customization for each of the locations by region. I think the other question's great in terms of how do we address the diversity of brand. Right now on our website, it's a scroll bar that goes across with all the different brands, and that is a hot mess. I hate that thing, and I got to tell you out of the gate. I mean, that's the easiest way for us to sort of display those. We're working on a better way to give that. We want to punch it up. Right, and we're not there yet. We have not decided what's the best way to deliver it. Do we do a sexy flash where when you move your mouse over it, you can actually navigate dynamically through the brand? Do we do almost a virtual reality? And these are ideas we're pitching. Do we do a virtual reality piece where you're actually in some sort of branded environment and it's just in that header flash, or it's in a component of the site that lets you navigate through those brands and talk about that delivery? Or do we put it in our new mobile apps that we're working on? Where we're looking at scanning technology, where you can scan one of our products with our mobile app, and it'll return to you information about that division of our business. I told
Brands
you,
is a
sick.
Brands is a front door, though, to PepsiCo, right? So when you talk about, we're a house of brands, that's how you phrase that, right?
We're trying to become a branded house.
You're trying to become a branded house. At some point,
today.
The discovery or the process, I mean, I do enjoy a little bit of Aunt Jemima from here and there, If I'm like, I gotta work at Aunt Jemima and I have no idea it's PepsiCo, there's theory that says, Aunt Jemima could lead me to those other brands, right? So I don't actually have to look at PepsiCo as the destination.
Right. One of the biggest disconnects we had, it was one of the first things when I came in that I noticed is we have all of these individual brand sites, and one of them had a career link. What a horrible disservice we do to ourselves, right? So we've begun engaging those different marketing teams because we're just so damned big. Each one of those divisions literally have their own marketing teams, right? They do roll in corporate comms and, obviously large company, but we've begun to actually speak with those different teams and say, hey, we'd love if you'd add this career piece here, and here's why. And we show them the stats and we tell that story and we pitch that. And they've been very responsive. In fact, just recently, the QuakerOats.com website went through a complete revision, and it's gorgeous now. And all the new initiatives they're doing, and the new assault on breakfast. But you'll see a career link that's been added that wasn't there before, right? That we couldn't have gotten, I think, a year ago, because it was a very different approach now. So we're getting legs, and we're excited to see that evolve on all of the other sites, which moves us into what are we going to do with our social footprint? How will we engage that piece, and where does it make sense to leverage? Mountain Dew's Facebook page just broke 1 million fans, right? Do we want a tab on that page, or do we need our own career page? I mean, how do we talk about that? How do we leverage the new groups feature that comes out to deliver a message that's custom to each brand, but is centralized and managed by our team, so it's manageable and sustainable? That's one of the biggest things we have to worry about, especially for brand and social.
It sounds to me like infinite possibilities. For you. So that was the last word there for you on this, as we're managing to the timeline. I could sit and talk with you all day long. Were you guys expecting this kind of transparency from a leader at a company so big as PepsiCo? It's different, isn't it? You expect this to be very buttoned up and very brand and very rigid. And just a quick shout out to the leadership of your team for selecting you, seeking you out, finding you, bringing you in, and letting you stay who you are. This is the real Chris. This is what you get, and that's what he gets to take to work every day. So I think it's your leadership leading that, and I think you'll have a huge impact in your entire recruiting organization, and I look forward to having you back here again. So round of applause for Chris Hoyt. Thank you all for participating. We are going to be out in 10 minutes, and we are going to come back with Tim Deneen talking about SEO. So back in 10, get some emails done, and we're wrapping up Glocal. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Appreciate it.